What's going on, everyone? We are back with another video, and we are going to do one more tier list before we get to the rebuilds. Today is the trade deadline, literally just ended like 5 minutes ago. The reason I'm not going to do a rebuild today is just so 2K can update their rosters, because I don't want to do a rebuild where, maybe they updated the roster with like Aaron Gordon to the Nuggets already, but then maybe like a trade that happened like 5-10 minutes ago, or within the past half hour, they haven't updated necessarily, and I don't even know if they updated any of the trades yet. So we are going to wait till tomorrow, because usually they're pretty good, especially with it being the trade deadline. I feel like they'll have all of the rosters ready for tomorrow, so definitely expect the rebuilds to start tomorrow. But we are going to do one last tier list, and we do have all the teams here, and I'm basically, after where all the teams stand after the trade deadline, I'm basically gonna rank them based on how good of a position they are in, whether that's if they are contending now, how good are they to be contending, and if they're not contending now, then how set are they for the future. So we're gonna start with the 76ers. Had arguably the MVP winner in Joel Embiid before his injury. Has Ben Simmons, who has been playing like Ben Simmons. Elite defense, great playmaking. They did have a trade. Oh fuck, who was it? George Hill. I got all the official trades. I don't know if they. I think this is all of the trades. So, but yeah, they acquired George Hill from OKC for Tony Bradley, Iggy Brasdakis, draft picks, and Terrence Ferguson goes to New York. Austin Rivers goes to OKC. Okay, so they get George Hill, with I guess playing with Ben Simmons. I guess that's a good another piece. Does that push it over the edge to where they can beat the Nets? Will Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons both stay healthy? Those are all huge what ifs. I think they're an A. I think they're an A. Not only because I don't necessarily think they're real contenders this year. Maybe they are. Like they're top. They're in the top 3 teams in the East, right? It's like them, the Nets, and the Bucks, and it's kind of like everybody else, right? But they're also set up for the future. Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid are still both very young. So they're going to be, great assets for a long, long time. And if nothing ever works out with them, then obviously trading them, if they were to ever trade them away, in 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, whatever, they'd probably get a lot of assets back. So they're in a good position to, be competing now, because they are one of the 3 real contending teams in the East, I think. And they are also set up for the future. We got the Wizards here. I gotta put them in C. I don't think they're god awful. They have at the end of the day, they have Bradley Beal, and that's probably what's keeping them in the C category. Westbrook isn't really helping them out that much. Dude, I don't know what that is. Bro, shit just automatically clicks sometimes. But anyway, yeah, I think they're in that C tier, mainly because of Bradley Beal, assuming he wants to stay. Then, yeah. Outside of that, they got Rui Hachimura, who's looking, solid. So I'll put them in the C category. They're definitely not competing now, and they probably won't be competing for a while, in my opinion. I got the standings up right here. I mean, yeah, I don't have too much to say about the Wizards. Hawks, I'm gonna put A. I'm gonna put A tier, because they are currently a 7th seed. They do have the Celtics below them, who've been obviously insanely underperforming this year, compared to last season and the past 4 or 5 seasons now. So they're in a spot to make the playoffs, which is solid, because last season they were like a bottom 3 team, right? Yeah, they were the second worst team in the East. So to go from that to the 7th seed, I think is basically where I would have seen them at the beginning of the season. Maybe a little bit worse, honestly. But they have Trae Young, John Collins. John Collins says he wants to be there for the rest of his career. I think Trae Young isn't like that superstar level, but he's like, no, not right now. Like in the future, I don't think he'll be that superstar like Curry, James Harden, and whatnot. But I think he'll be like that notch below it. I think he'll be like a notch below Damian Lillard's level. I mean, Damian Lillard's like a superstar, but like he just hasn't had playoff success, right? I just kind of see it like that, but like maybe a little less talented than Damian Lillard too. But then John Collins is also really nice too. So they'll definitely need like a better third piece. But they have a young team. I really like DeAndre Hunter, Cam Reddish, all them looking real nice. And as far as trades, they did get Lou Will plus draft picks for Rondo. I'm assuming. Yo, it just updated. Houston traded Victor Oladipo to Miami, bro. So that's gonna be okay. I'm glad that happened while I was doing this. So yeah, that's something I'm gonna also have to watch out for within like probably the next like 10 to 20 minutes too. There could be even more updates because I'm assuming the trades have to be finalized by 3 o'clock, but like just because they were finalized like 10 minutes ago or whatever doesn't mean we're gonna know about them yet. So yeah. Next team, we got the Cavaliers. I'm gonna put B. It looks like they weren't able to trade Andre Drummond. They were able to trade JaVale McGee to the Nuggets. I don't know what they got back for that trade. It doesn't say here right now, so I'm guessing it wasn't too significant, probably. But they still have Andre Drummond, so they're gonna buy him out and let him become a free agent. I thought that was a terrible trade for them. A lot of people thought Detroit got fleeced. In reality, no. Like, Andre Drummond's a bum. So, but yeah, I'll put them in the B category. Because I do like Colin Sexton a lot. They got Jarrett Allen now, like him a lot. You do have Darius Garland. I don't love him, I don't hate him, you know? So, but I do really like Colin Sexton and Jarrett Allen. But it's like, neither of them are going to be first options on a team, on a contending team. You know, so that's kind of my opinions on where they're at. But yeah, they're obviously not going to be competing for a while. And maybe not a while. Like they obviously have a nice young core now. If they hit one more time in this draft, they might be like 2 years away from making the playoffs again as like that 8th seed from like after next year, of course. So like 3 years from now. We got the Pistons. Bro, I'm putting D tier. I'm putting the Pistons in the D tier. I hate to do that, but just like a decade of mediocrity to now just starting a rebuild. Obviously we have a new GM, but like just every draft pick has been an L. The only non-L draft picks, I guess you can consider Andre Drummond a decent draft pick. He's just like overpaid now, so that's kind of the stigma around him. But the only good draft picks that I can think of right now was like Chris Middleton and Spencer Dinwiddie, and we just got rid of both of them. So it's just like we've missed on like every draft basically of the past decade, So it's hard. And Killian Hayes, like I'm pretty sure the Pistons could have gotten Tyrese Halliburton. I'm fairly certain he was available. We want 2020 NBA draft. I'm like 90% sure that Tyrese Halliburton was available. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Nope, he was. He got picked at 12. Okay, he got picked at 12. We chose it was Killian Hayes at 7. It's just like, and I'm not saying I would have made that decision, right? I'm not saying I would have done that. But what I am saying is that's just another missed opportunity. And I know Killian Hayes has been injured, but even when he was in, he was shooting so terribly. It was just not good at all. So, yeah. We got the Pacers here. Malcolm Brogdon looked really nice this season. Same did Sabonis. Even with how good they've been, this is the worst they've performed in I don't know how many years. Like, they were the 4th seed last year. 5th seed before that. You know, like 5th seed again. So it's just like it seems like their best performers were really good in Malcolm Brogdon, Sabonis. But at the end of the day, they're still a 9th seed. So at the end of the day, no one's getting younger. Obviously, they're still both young. Because of that, I'll put them B tier. Oh no, not Raptors. Yeah, the Raptors would probably go there. But yeah, just they don't have... The A tier is basically going to be like, you know, they have a superstar. They have a solid young team. They have like, Trae Young's a much better player than... Or like, I don't want to say he's a much better player than Sabonis, but I think he is better. So, but yeah. Oh, Bucks. Oh, Lamau. Bucks. Oh, man. It's hard. They have Giannis. Giannis doesn't perform well in the playoffs, though. And until I see Giannis perform well in the playoffs, I have to keep him in 8 tier. I have to do that. Until he's better in the playoffs, until Chris Middleton, learns he can be like a better closer and not a choker. They're gonna have to be an A tier. Obviously, Giannis being really young puts it like that. They're a high A tier. I think they're like neck and neck with like the 76ers. But I don't think I can put them on the S tier. Raptors, bro. Raptors, I have no idea. I mean, it looks like they didn't trade Kyle Lowry. And Twitter is like black. Okay, here we go. Doesn't look like Kyle Lowry got traded at all. I haven't gotten an update on him yet. So I'm making the assumption that he's not going to be traded. They did get Gary Trent, Rodney Hood. I do like Gary Trent a lot. He had a really nice bubble last season. And they also traded Matt Thomas to Utah for a draft pick. So, Raptors traded Terrence Davis also to the Kings for a future draft pick. Okay, so they were actually pretty busy. I missed a couple of those trades. I'll put them B tier. Pascal Siakam, still young, still nice. Looks like they acquired some assets. Gary Trent Jr. The future is probably looking better than the Wizards. They also have Fred VanVleet still, so Chris Boucher, all looking really, really nice. So I gotta put him there. I think they just had a very underwhelming season this year. But for future-wise, that's why they're going to be a B. Mavericks, they're going to be an A also. Love Luka. I think he's the best young player in the league. Being like, I don't know how young Giannis is, but like 25 and younger, Luka is just like, he's literally superstar level already. I'm fine putting him in that tier. And Kristaps has been very underwhelming in my opinion. And I think they do have to have a lot to do before they become real contenders. So I'm just not good putting him in the S tier until they get a better core around Luka. Nuggets, I gotta put S tier. Jokic, top 5 player in the NBA. Easily. Jamal Murray is really, really, really solid. Obviously, if he started performing like bubble Jamal Murray, it'd be an obvious S tier. This is like a low S tier to me. Because Jokic is so young still. Jokic is so young. Jamal Murray's young. Who'd they trade for? They traded for somebody. Aaron Gordon, yeah, my bad. They traded for Aaron Gordon and Gary Clark. And they traded away Gary Harris, RJ Hampton, and draft picks. I think they've done a good job, drafting. And they had so many assets that allow them to make this trade. Do I think Aaron Gordon pushes them to an actual contender this season? No. I think Aaron Gordon's very overrated. Not necessarily overrated because I don't think anybody rates him very highly. But, I don't know. I feel like there's been so much news around the Aaron Gordon trade because of, his request to get traded. And so because of that, I think that people are hyping this trade up more than it should be. But I don't think that pushes them to real contenders this season. I do love the game a lot. I think they're pulling up for like a top 3 seed right now. Like they're currently a 5th seed. They're 7-3 in their last 10 games. Literally nobody in the West is better than that. A couple teams are like the same, Suns being one of them, Mavericks and whatnot. I do see them moving up past the Lakers because LeBron and AD being injured. The Clippers being as inconsistent as they are, I could see that happening. And I could see them passing the Suns. I could see that. They're 3.5 games out, so that's going to be a little harder. But I could definitely see it. But obviously I do really like the Suns. So, for being a team that's been competing for the past 3 years now, like including this season, so the previous 2 and then this season, and being set up for the future, I think that pushes them to an S tier. The Grizzlies, I'm going to put a B tier. Last season, I would have put them A for how set up they were for the future. I think they got a really nice team, and obviously this all, we haven't been able to see them with Jaren Jackson Jr., and so they would probably currently be in a playoff position if they if he was on the floor, But Ja Morant again has been a little underwhelming this season. I think he was so electric last season that it's making this season seem a little bit worse. But the shooting is down this season, so I'm gonna put a B. But I do really like Ja Morant, obviously, and depending on how they perform, once Jaren Jackson Jr. comes back, I don't know when he is. Potentially they could have been a top 6. If they were a 6th seed, I'd probably be putting them in the A category. But for now, they're gonna be B. We got the Timberwolves. Dude, I don't know what's going on with the Timberwolves. I'm going to put C solely because of how good I think Karl Anthony Towns is. They have D'Angelo Russell, and they have Anthony Edwards, who's looking, pretty solid. He's a little bit inefficient, but he does have, he does get a lot of good games in. I think is that consistency that he has to, work with. Because I know his shot selection isn't the greatest, but it is his rookie year, so 99% of the time, people's percentages go up significantly from their rookie season to their second. So I will put them at a C because if Anthony Edwards can become, what people were thinking that he would be, the best player in the draft, I think then, it could potentially be a B. I don't know what they need to do, whether it's the coaches, front office, or just the team dynamic or what. But they got to figure something else out. And just because of how underperforming they've been, they're literally 10-34, they got to be a C seed. Oh, we got the Spurs here. I like DeJounte Murray. I like Derek White. It doesn't look like DeRozan or Aldridge was traded. All right, Kyle Lowry and Lonzo Ball officially stay put. Just because, they're not they're down to an 8th seed, I believe, right now. So, I gotta put them in the C category. They're down to an 8th seed. I personally don't even want them in the playoffs. I'd rather have Ja Morant make the playoffs or, the Warriors. I would like them to make the playoffs because I love watching Steph Curry play. Obviously, if the Pelicans could somehow make a run, I would love that. I would absolutely love the Pelicans making a run. They're 4 games out, though, so it's definitely going to be a little bit harder for them, as, the Grizzlies are only a game out, and the Warriors are only 1.5 out, so, and I do have more faith in Steph than I do, Zion, Lonzo, or whatever, but Steph is actually injured right now, so the Warriors probably will not make the playoffs, now that I'm thinking about it. But yeah, Utah Jazz, oof, do I put it in S tier? I'm going to put A tier. I think they're the Nuggets from, 2 seasons ago, when the Nuggets somehow got the 1st seed over the Warriors and the Rockets. But they're a regular season team, in my opinion. You saw them blow a 3-1 lead to the Nuggets last year, and I know the Clippers blew a 3-1 lead also. But I just don't think you can do that. Donovan Mitchell is absolutely ridiculous. Rudy Gobert, I think, is overrated at this point. Him being as good as he is defensively, I don't want to say overrated, because I think a lot of people understand that he's like really good defensively, but not offensively. And because I would say more overpaid than overrated, and because of that, I can't put them in the S category. I just think you need a two-way player, and them not having that, you know. So, we got the Clippers. The Clippers, bro. Dude, with that inconsistency, with like especially Paul George's inconsistency, I think I might have to put them at a high B tier. Because at the end of the day, if they do perform like they should, then they could obviously come out of the West. They totally could. But because of that underperforming, or like due to inconsistency, especially with Paul George, depending on what Paul George can do in the playoffs, with how much they, how many assets they gave away to get Paul George, with all the money that they're spending on him and Kawhi, they did just get Rondo, who hopefully will really help with the playmaking. They're a high B, low A, solely because the future looks bleak if they do not win a final. If they don't at least make it to the finals with Kawhi, I think it's just a complete dud. Everything was useless. So yeah, just because of them, in my opinion, not having that much of a future. If they don't, it's kind of like championship or die. The Suns, absolutely love how they've been performing. Do I think they're real championship contenders? I want to say yes, because of how much I love Chris Paul and Devin Booker. I'm going to put A tier. Because at the end of the day, Chris Paul is Chris Paul in the sense that he doesn't have great playoff success. Which really sucks, because if he didn't get injured when he was on the Rockets, when they were up 3-2 against the Warriors, I think it was a hamstring injury, they could have made it to the finals and probably would have won the finals. But 29-14, I know the Suns had like an 8-0 run in the bubble, but without Chris Paul, I still think they're like a 7th, 8th seed. So for how great they're performing, they're definitely high A, and I'll be rooting for them in the playoffs. They're definitely one of the teams that I'll be rooting for. Them, the Nuggets, I think are probably the two teams I'd root for out of the West. And overall, I guess, I want Chris Paul to get a ring so much. And obviously the Nuggets just being the Nuggets. Trailblazers, I'm gonna put B. They're 6th seed. They haven't come out of the West ever. They honestly haven't even been close. They got torched by the Warriors when they finally made it to the Western Conference Finals. Realistically, they've never been close to coming out of the West, and so I got to put them in a B tier because of that. That's about it for them. The Kings, I'm gonna put C tier. The reason they're C tier is because of De'Aaron Fox. They'd be D tier if they didn't have him. Marvin oh my god, they chose Marvin Bagley. They could have had Luka or Trey. Obviously, they probably wouldn't want Trey, but I think Luka would have been fantastic. Obviously, Luka would have been fantastic on any team. But I think coaching is trash for them. I think that's the problem. De'Aaron Fox is performing like an all-star. So and I think he is going to be a future all-star. And if they can figure out, if they can not underperform, if coaching can get it right, they could be in a playoff position. I don't think they're any worse than the Grizzlies if they were, actually playing well. The Knicks. They traded for somebody, I think. Or they traded away somebody. Knicks. I don't see the Knicks. Maybe it wasn't a significant trade. Okay, maybe it wasn't a significant trade. I'm gonna put them C. At the end of the day, they're what, an 8th seed right now. So reality's starting to set in on on them not actually being contenders. Oh wait, no, they're a 6th seed. Sorry, but they're only a game above the Celtics, who are an 8th seed. So it's getting to the point where they might not make the playoffs anymore. I know they were looking great, but also LaMelo's injured for the Hornets, so the Hornets might, go back down. I think the Heat are gonna look nice. Hawks are looking nice. I don't know if the Celtics can just stop underperforming, then the Knicks might be at the worst get an 8th seed, but also like the Bulls are in a good position right now, who I'll talk about later. But Julius Randle is Julius Randle. Like they're obviously not championship contenders, and I don't think they have any young guys that are going to be that face of the franchise. I think RJ Barrett could potentially, but I don't see RJ Barrett being on the level of like somebody who's going to carry your team to like a top 3 seed and go to the conference finals and potentially go to the finals after that. I don't think he's that guy. Pelicans. Oh man, I think I'm gonna put B. They have Zion, who is again probably is a top 5 guy under like 24, 25. But I don't know what it is, if it's the dynamic, if the players just don't mesh well. I think a lot has to do with coaching. I think Stan Van Gundy was a terrible hire. Being a Pistons fan, I know straight up that he was not a good coach. He was like coach / GM. Like, we let him make his draft decisions, and he was god awful with that. As you can see, like, we've had a decade of useless draft picks. And we trade the only ones that were good. So I think they have a lot to work out before I put them in that A category. Whether that's trading someone away. But they obviously have a lot of assets to work with. So they are going to be, they're probably more on the higher end of the B tier. Because then they do have a lot of assets, and if what they currently have doesn't work out, they could always change it up. The Hornets, man. I know the East has been pretty trash this season outside of like the 76ers, Bucks, Nets. Like everybody, like there's a huge drop off after them. I think LaMelo Ball has played way better than anybody would have thought. For me, it was really just that efficiency to me. But he showed that he can have really good efficiency. Being a rookie, usually everybody does have worse efficiency than what they will in like the next couple of years. So if he gets even better, oh my god, he could be that guy. I think they've also really overperformed. I think they have a lot of really young, nice pieces. But until they get that, second guy, that real second guy, I have to put them at a B. Obviously, they had a great draft, but they're not going to have a great draft pick this year. I don't know if they own anybody draft picks though, so I'm gonna keep them at a B for now. But again, I think better. I think they're currently better off than the Pelicans, being that they are a 4th seed. I know in the East, but then they also have a lot of young players for their future. We got the Rockets. I'm gonna put C, man. I don't know. They're close to D right now. They're close to D, man. I mean, you traded James Harden. You're now the 12-31. Just awful. I don't think they're in the best position for the future, but obviously, gain the assets that they got. But they did just trade Victor Oladipo. I don't know who they got back for that. So that would possibly change my opinion on all of this. But I didn't see the details in that trade yet. I don't know if they've come out. I'm assuming they have because that was about 15-20 minutes ago. And if anything would load, everything's like, as you can see, with dragging all this. So I'll get back to that once I see. Once Twitter finally loads. But the Heat, I'm going to put B for now. They did just get Victor Oladipo, which is nice. Obviously, depending on what they gave away, probably Duncan Robinson. I heard Duncan Robinson was in a lot of trade talks, mainly for Kyle Lowry, I think. Oh my god, nothing wants to load right now. But I'm going to put them B because I don't think they're real contenders. I don't think they're coming out of the East this year. Regardless of how good Jimmy Butler has been playing. Regardless of how good Bam Adebayo is. Victor Oladipo doesn't set them up for the future. It sets them up for contend now. And I think he definitely fits the play style. And I think he'll help. But this is not Victor Oladipo from like 4 years ago when he took LeBron James to 7 games. This is not that Victor Oladipo. If it was, I'd put them in the A category. But they're not. I don't see them coming out of the East, so I gotta put them there. Bulls, I'm gonna put B. My opinion on centers is outside of Joel Embiid and Jokic, as like a number 1 option type player, you're not going to be contending. And the only guys that deserve a bag are basically Cat, in my opinion. Maybe Bam could be there too. But Vucevic, I know he's a great player. I know he's been an all-star for the past 2 or 3 seasons now. But is either him or Zach LaVine a number 1 option on a contending team? No. At least not unless you have a number 2 that complements them well. And I don't think either of their game necessarily complements them like the way that Klay Thompson complements Steph, right? Klay is literally the greatest player to have next to Curry. Curry does it all. All you need Klay to do is to help spread the floor for the big guys, especially since they have Draymond, and shoot the ball, which is what he does better than anybody, better than almost anybody in the history of the NBA. So I don't necessarily think Zach LaVine and Vucevic complement their game. Like, obviously you wouldn't complement as well as them because they've won 3 championships together, but they're 19 and 24. If anything, they get to like the 7th or 8th seed, and then they get eliminated in the first round. So that's why they're a B. Nets are an S because they are a championship contending team. James Harden has been absolutely ridiculous. Honestly, I'm pretty sure the Nets have been better with James Harden than when it was KD and Kyrie. Like, obviously, James Harden and Kyrie, or James Harden alone. But they just got blown out yesterday without James Harden. So I think that Brooklyn's offense was complete trash. I think they scored like 88 points or something. Like, they shot like less than 40%. So I think that speaks a lot about James Harden's play. And, having 2 of the best 5 players in the league. 2 of the best, arguably 3 best players in the league. And then having Kyrie, who's another, top 15, top 20 player. Possibly top 10 player. I think it speaks a lot. And, yeah, they're obviously contenders. Thunder, I'm going to put as a very high A tier. Oh my god, this is so slow. They're high A for sure. Obviously they're not doing anything in the playoffs this year. Can we please load? All right. I guess I'll just talk about it because nothing seems to load right now. But yeah, high A. Great assets. Shea, a great player. Is Shea gonna be a superstar? I don't think so. I think he's good. I think he is similar to Trey, where he's gonna be a notch below that superstar level. So, gotta put Thunder at that A tier. Oh shoot. Shoot. I think the Celtics and the Lakers. And the Warriors. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think they depend a lot on what their draft picks are going to be. And they actually are down to a 13th seed. Last time I saw, I think they were like an 11th seed or something. But now that they're down pretty low, they're going to probably have they're going to have a definite top 10 draft pick. So they obviously depend a lot on what those future picks are going to be. And obviously, if they draft well, like they drafted KD, drafted James Harden, drafted Westbrook, they're definitely going to be an S tier. because they'll be contending again, for a long time. But until we see what those draft picks are, I have to put them in an A tier. We got the Magic. They made a lot of trades today. I think they did a lot to start actually rebuilding, so I'll put them at a C tier because I think they have been performing better than the Pistons. They have had better draft picks. They have had better players than the Pistons. And I think they set themselves up for finally really rebuilding. I think they do have a lot of good young players. Something that the Pistons don't necessarily have yet. So, yeah, I'm gonna keep Magic at C. Solely because they're not in the best position for the future. But they aren't in a terrible position. I just think these teams are in a better position right now. We got the Celtics. I would have put them at A tier last year. I'm putting them at B tier this year. They performed super underwhelming, but at the end of the day, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are two of the best players in the league. Jaylen Brown has really stepped up, and he's really developed over the past 3 years now. So Jason Tatum has been a little inconsistent, I feel like, this season, but I think they're two really, really solid players. But due to that underperforming, I'm going to put them in the B tier. We got the Lakers. Last season, I would have put them at S for sure. LeBron and AD are both injured, but they're both going to make it back. They're, to me, a low S, high A for me. Solely because I do think, they're more likely to win the championship than the Nuggets right now. Assuming, LeBron and AD get back and are all good, I think they'll, are in a better position than the Nuggets to compete now. But for the future, I don't think they're in a great position. They got rid of a lot of assets to get Anthony Davis, and they won a championship last year, which is good because if it was last year, I would have put them as the top team in the S tier. But now, if we don't take last year into consideration, it's basically like they're still, they're competing for a championship now. They're not competing for a championship in the future. They're competing now. As we can see, the team's pretty dog shit outside of LeBron and Anthony Davis. So that's why it's a low S tier. I think the Nets just having the more superstars. I think the Nuggets having a really, really good team, but also to be able to be competing in 5-10 years still puts them a little bit above, mainly because Denver's future is a lot better if they don't win the championship this year. The Lakers' future, if they don't win a championship, is not good. The Nets just probably have the best overall team. And now we have the Warriors. I'm gonna put them somewhere in B. Once Klay Thompson comes back, I think they'll be competing again. But then, at the same time, they're all old, so their future isn't looking great, right? Curry, Klay, Draymond, they're all getting really old. James Wiseman, isn't having a great season. I don't think they have some future star who's gonna, be able to take over once Curry and Klay's gone. At least not right now. Obviously, in the draft could be different, but if Curry and Klay don't want to rebuild, Draymond doesn't want to rebuild. They want to be competing still for championships. But do I ever see them being better than, the current Nets? No. Nuggets? No. Lakers? Not until, LeBron is gone. So, I'm going to put them at B because I don't see them as championship contenders unless they were to get somebody else. But until then, they're going to be B. So, yeah, there you guys go. This actually went way longer than I wanted to. I just ramble a bunch. Also, with this loading just so slowly, it's going to be bad. Oh my god. Okay. But yeah, there you guys go. That was my tier list for how well the teams are set up, whether they're competing now or for the future. And yeah, I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Hopefully 2K updates the rosters before tomorrow or by tomorrow, and I'll be able to do some rebuilds of the big trades that went down. And yeah, I'll see you guys then. Peace.